to realize, oh, geez, I didn't realize I had talent in this or that area. They did this for me when I was in high school, and what they said was, oh, you can do whatever you want except things that require fine motor coordination. Well, that didn't do me any good. I knew I was a klutz, and I knew I wasn't gonna be a concert pianist or a harpist or go to work in a factory that where I did assembly. I knew I wasn't gonna do that. So what good did it do to tell me, oh, you can do anything except that? That's nonsense. Well, you know, if they had said to me, which they should be saying to these kids when they're 15 or 16, because by the time you're that age, you know, you've pretty much been able to develop your mind and your, you know, your body to a certain extent. It's not like giving a comprehensive test to a 6-year-old and saying, oh, these are your skills. So if this kind of testing is done when they're 15 or 16, it gives them the opportunity to find out about talents they may not realize. And also recommend to them, look, based on what we see here, these are the kinds of careers or job opportunities or educational opportunities that you could probably have a lot of success in. Well, that's helpful. All right, so instead of having a law that says you gotta stay in school till you're 18, and these kids don't want to, but then they don't know where to go, they use the homeschool law as a way of dropping out, or they stay in school, they don't learn anything anyway. If they were given the opportunity to see and develop the talents that they have, more of them would probably stay in school, and the ones who wanna drop out, they should be allowed to drop out. Because,
Drop the compulsory attendance.
yeah, drop the compulsory attendance back to 16.
Well, I mean, a lot of us said when that law was going through that we were concerned that people would use it as a method to, you know, people would use the homeschool law as a method to drop out because it would be easier for them to do that. So it's not a big surprise that that's happening, if it, you know,
If it is in effect.
If it is, yes, right.
Happening, yeah.
Because I'm not sure about,
That's not a homeschool problem, it's
it's not a homeschool problem.
a public school problem.
Then there's House Bill 1650, which removes educational neglect from the purview of DCYF. It doesn't establish an alternative procedure, but that could be added in as an amendment. It seems to many of us that DCYF is not the right place for educational neglect to be examined. This legislation seems to be a good place to start. Again, it's not something that we're gonna vote on or anything, but I just wanted to make you aware that it's there. And there's another one that I wanted to talk about that I lost track of the piece of legislation. Then there's the State House Bicentennial Essay Contest. The department, yeah.
I was gonna say, before you move on, I think it might be good to note that both of those bills are being heard in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the hearing.
Or the hearings are coming up.
I wish it would be useful if we knew that these things were coming, especially
1263 is on the, is
1263, that's January
January
25th, yeah.
Yes.
And
All
the
these are,
rest are
I
30th.
believe, House education bills. Well, I don't know about 12, I don't know about 1650.
No, that's children and family
Yeah.
law.
Okay, right.
That's January 30th at 2.
And does anybody here know of any other legislation that's pending that would affect homeschoolers? I know there's at least one more, because I remember looking at
There
it.
are the driver's education ones, you probably could
Yeah,
speak
there's
to
3
them.
driver's ed bills that I know a lot of homeschoolers are interested in, even though it's not a homeschool issue. There's also a youth employment bill, 1321, coming up on the 17th, that would allow homeschoolers to work during traditional school days and calendar days and school hours.
Can I ask a
What's
question
the
about that,
driver-
if you know much more about that, because my understanding is that it is a federal law that prohibits homeschoolers from working during the school day, not a state law.
It's a state
so.
law. It's written directly into Section 4 of the youth employment
I
statute.
think that probably just carries down from the federal
Yeah.
employment. I don't know that that's going to do anything unless the federal law is really changed.
What's the one about driving?
It was not a homeschool direct issue,
Right.
but one that's very, I've had a lot of homeschoolers express interest in it. There are 3 different bills that are homeschool, or I'm sorry, driver's ed related. I don't recall the exact numbers, I'd have to check other documents for it, but
What
they're
community-
typical arguments against allowing parents to homeschool driver's ed, is that the same things you hear against homeschooling. Just parents don't know what they're doing, students won't respect them, and how do you know the students aren't cheating? It's the same arguments we hear on homeschooling against driver's ed.
What committee? That one?
Transportation.
Transportation, okay. so-
They're all House bills, so they'll all go through House Transportation.
Okay. And there was another one?
There are 3
Well,
that are
3, but I mean, besides that,
the youth employment.
youth employment, driver ed, is there
And
anything
then the
else?
ESA bill. The ESA bill,
SB 193.
SB 193.
Yeah, the
What is
school,
that
the
one?
vouchers.
Vouchers.
Oh.
Education savings accounts.
Yeah.
I wonder-
Uh,
'Cause there was-
Opponents of the bill like to call it a voucher bill because there are some polls about negative connotation to the word voucher.
Okay, so, are there any others besides that anybody's aware of? It's kinda nice to know about these things. Okay. Possible that Commissioner Edelblut will be joining us today, but they weren't sure. And on that State House Bicentennial Essay Contest, I don't know if I sent a copy of that information to council members. I know I sent it out to homeschooling associations. Do any of you remember getting that information?
I got one.
Well, yeah, I sent it to you because of the Seacoast Christian Home Educators. All right, well, I'll make a note here. Anyway, it's basically on account of the 200th anniversary of the State House. And there's an essay contest open to kids in school and homeschoolers. There are various rules, and it's all available now for download from the Department of Education website, which wasn't the case at first. Okay, that's pretty much what I have to say. Ellie, you made a Department of Education report already? Okay, I only have one question. Is there gonna be someone appointed to take Heather's place, or?
Heather had the conversation with the commissioner again yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday,
Okay,
day before
so it
yesterday.
hasn't happened
It
yet?
hasn't happened that I'm aware of.
Okay. Oh, and the only other thing was the School Boards Association, that representative hasn't been settled on yet. But aside from the school board and the second department person, we have a full council at this point. All right. Any questions on anything that's been said so far? Okay, we'll move into old business. The only item that I had on old business was finishing up the annual report section of the meeting procedures. I'm gonna read what I've got here, and then I'll accept a motion, to, come on,
Proof?
a motion to proceed on this, and, I'm open to amending this wording, but we have to start somewhere. A draft of the annual report shall be presented by the chair in April to be voted on at the May meeting of HEAC. The chair shall give due consideration to the comments and concerns of all council members before finalizing said report. The report will usually be presented to the New Hampshire Board of Education at their August meeting. All right, so before we can talk about it, I need a motion to, no, I forgot to make, I was doing this at the, I had forgotten to do this. Anyway. It
I
would be
wonder
better
if,
we
is
had
it possible
copies.
to use a copier here?
I don't see why not, if my number goes into this copier down
Ah.
here, whether it does. Not up there.
Crowded room today, huh? I just stopped in to say hello. Sorry for disrupting you all.
No, you're not
You're
disrupting.
not, we're actually.
If you have something you wanna say, go right ahead.
So I don't have something specific, other than I think you guys all know that there is a bill hearing on a very important home education matter next week, and I hope that home educators are going to show up and express their opinions about that.
Yeah.
Which
Is
bill would
that-
that be?
I don't remember the number of the bill. It's the one coming out of Berlin.
Oh, the, right, 1263, I think.
1263.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's next week, I thought it was on the 25th.
Oh, maybe it's the 25th then. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I got a lot going on. But I think it's important that
Yeah.
that we show that home educators are by a significant margin creating good educational opportunities for students, and of course that there are exceptions to everything, just as there are exceptions in our schools today, because I deal with them in adult ed, where I get kids who are 22 years old and 24 years old, and they have a high school diploma from New Hampshire, but they can't read at the 3rd grade level. So we know that that's a concern, and we don't want to but I think we know overall that home educators have done a great job. So I'll support that. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Yeah.
Did you wanna ask them to approve that, presentation?
Well, I wanna find out what
Oh, okay.
we think here. I can talk to him later on, because that wouldn't happen right away anyway,
Okay.
that presentation. Okay, why don't we discuss that? The motion hasn't been made yet to talk about the other thing, so I'm not skipping anything. Yeah, the New Hampshire Municipal Association specializes in presentations about the right to know law. They've been doing this for a long time. Ruth is the one who first clued me in on this. The only problem is it's a fairly lengthy presentation. The presentation itself is a couple of hours. And then, of course, we're gonna have questions. And he indicated to me that the questions can be asked as the presentation goes on. We don't have to wait till the end of the presentation to ask questions. There will be handouts. It's a video presentation in
I'll
part.
pass some around the other way.
But like I said, it's 2 hours long, and probably longer than that because of the questions. So, do we have any, oh, you know what? We'll need a motion a motion in favor of doing this. We're gonna end up voting on the motion, so the fact that you make it doesn't mean that you're approving of the idea. Just someone can make the motion so we can discuss it.
Make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, Jen. All right, does anybody have any comments on that? I'm done saying what I'm gonna say.
I'm new here. What would be the benefit of this particular council being, brought in on the right to know?
Well,
Somebody else do that?
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think that the right to know law is so, you have that in all public situations, or public meetings, public groups. There are certain things you have to adhere to. You know, what you can say, what is available to the public. Anything that you say in a public meeting it's available to the public, so they can take a look at it. And a lot of people have concerns about meetings off-site. You know, how many people can discuss an issue, for example, off-site without it becoming a meeting.
As long as
So
you don't have
those
a
are the
quorum
kinds of
type
things you
thing.
have to be very careful with. That's sort of my take on it, and I can't tell you how many presentations I've had on the right to know.
Yeah.
And even this year in legislature, there are other little bills coming in to change something, to look at it differently, and to add something or take away something. So it's not something that was done, 10 years ago, and we still adhere to it, there are changes to it all the time.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, Glenn, as a rep, you also have some familiarity with why it might be a good idea to do this.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be a bad idea to do a briefing. I'm just not sure if a 2-hour presentation is warranted for this group. I don't know if there's something shorter that could be done, or if they'd be willing to do a HEAC version of the presentation.
Cliff Notes version that pertains to
Yeah.
HEAC.
Yeah.
I see.
That
I
abridged
agree with you,
version.
Glenn. I think that a lot of things, if you're discussing what happens on the ZBA and planning board and select board meetings, those are probably very specific things, and I think you can find something. What's his name? You doing it?
Stephen,
Was Steve Fortier? No,
well, I can't remember his name.
I thought,
The same guy you told me about.
Cordelli, no,
Cordell, I think it's
Cordell Johnston.
Cordell Johnson.
Cordell.
yeah.
So, I think it wouldn't hurt to ask, is there something you can do, sort of general things, or something very particular to this kind of, this
Yeah,
body?
I did ask him that.
Okay, and you
And
said, no, it has to be 2 hours.
he seemed to think that he'd want to do the full presentation.
Okay,
The other thing is, I've got Nancy Smith coming in March, and I think it's entirely possible that her presentation